AskReddit by Intelligent Flan 9945. What is a shocking secret you discovered about someone close to you? Deleted. That's really shocking to learn from internet. Did you ask your father once you learned? My grandfather was in the IRA and 100% was involved in some fucked up shit. Sorry, English is not my main language. What is IRA? Once dated a girl who had the sweetest grandfather. Found out years later, the guy used to rob convenience stores in youth. Life is full of surprises. A good friend's dad, super nice guy, would give you the shirt off his back while cooking you dinner and was an associate pastor at his church. Turns out the guy was a pretty hardcore gangbanger enforcer for a Puerto Rican gang in his youth. Still had his way shorter than legal double-barrel shotgun he used to carry with him on jobs. He never openly admitted to anything specific that he did, but many things were very much implied. Apparently when he met his wife, my friend's mom, he just walked away, married her, moved across the country and stared over. My former best friend had a husband that was in prison. Turns out, he was a pedophile and was caught soliciting underage girls and had been 4 years. She told everyone it only happened once and just had a bad lawyer. Yikes. I wonder if she actually believed that lie or just wanted to convince herself that was the case. Hope she eventually left him. Husband passed away suddenly when our daughter was 6. A year later I stumbled onto his records when he was in a psych hospital for depression. In the notes the therapist mentioned my husband never referred to our daughter by name, simply referred to her as a child. The notes also said my husband told the therapist that if I were to ever divorce him and take full custody he wouldn't be upset. It's been 10 years and I've never mentioned it to my daughter. Never will. That's depressing. Hopefully, he was a good father when he was alive. My aunt that I like had an affair with some beehive keeper that would come visit from time to time when my uncle wasn't home. She married my uncle cause they had fun one night and she got pregnant with my first cousin, who's also the oldest grandchild in the entire family. Nobody in the family knew besides my mother about this and my aunt's girlfriends who were also cheating at that time. The only reason my mom knew was because she babysat my cousin during the affair and she found out about it through this. She kept this secret to herself for more than 20 years and told me a few years ago. I can't bring myself to tell anyone else I know because frankly, they are all doing much better and I'd hate to break this to them, especially when they are so close to each other now and need the support. You always hear of the gardener or the pool boy, but never the beekeeper. Wife's cousin didn't go to jail for pirating DVDs, he was caught buying child porn. Found out because his dad kept lying about how long his sentence was. He got 5 years, which we thought was a little steep, so we googled his name. One day when at home I saw there were some papers on the tables. Turns out it was some things my mom had written and printed, and on the first page I see she mentioned she had an abortion a few years before I was born. Of course she never mentioned anything about it at all before, and she had no reason to tell me as it was her decision at a time I wasn't there yet, but it still felt very weird learning it, especially like that. I found out how my uncle cheated on the induction exam to get out of being drafted for Vietnam. Hey, mine too. He stored some speed in an empty chapstick container and railed it before they took his physical. They wanted to send him to the hospital instead. Nothing too crazy, but my grandfather was almost drafted into Vietnam. He was only rejected because he's deaf in one ear. I'm kinda glad he wasn't chosen because I couldn't imagine my life without that man. My ex-boyfriend's dad was always like the kind of guy that tried really hard to be funny and liked. It was almost sad. He has an Instagram account because he's an entrepreneur and he posts really weird oversaturated unfunny content, but he tries really hard on them only for them to get like 20 likes. Anyways, I dated this guy for a year and in the middle of our relationship he told me that his dad wasn't the nice guy that he tried so hard to be. I guess a while ago my ex's mom got an follow request from this random account with no followers and only following her. The name of the account was "Your husband is cheating on you," and their bio was a verse in the Bible that was about infidelity, and then she got an email saying "Your husband is cheating on you." Turns out he had been lying to my ex's mom about going on business trips so he could secretly meet up with this woman. I played in a band and, by accident, I found out that the bassist was having an affair with the GF of the drummer. The band was over when the drummer found out. No one knew I was aware of the whole thing. I live in a relatively small city with a very prominent music scene. The band didn't break up, they just replaced the bassist. The drummer is such a cool dude, and from stories he has told me he has dated women that end up awful. I found out the reason my grandfather isn't allowed at family events is because he's a registered sex offender and raped a 13-year-old girl. I haven't spoken to him in years since I found out that he's a registered sex offender for possession of CP. Fucker hid it from me for years. I had absolutely zero clue, no sign at all from him that he was a disgusting creep. When I found out, I actually vomited. Needless to say, we are no longer associated. My grandmother conceived my father by sleeping with her son-in-law. As an adult, I've gradually learned more and more about how much my dad, aunt, and uncle were abused by their father, with more information coming after his death. I only recently learned that my dad was also abused by his mother. On a lighter note, as an adult I learned that the story about how my mom and dad met, that he was friends with her older sister in college, was not entirely accurate. Instead, their relationship was more it's complicated, and my dad had dated most of the other young women in the house where my mom and aunt were living. Before you worry, everyone is and always has been happy about how things turned out. It's just a funny story now. The secret itself wasn't someone I was that close to. My mom's grandfather used to really get around. My aunt got into some kind of ancestry or DNA thing and found out she had quite a lot of half cousins. The second part of this was when she was going over some names of people that have remained in the area we might know. One of my brothers got up and left because he used to have an FWB thing going with someone on that list. I recognized the name, not sure if anyone else present was aware of that. My aunt is a drug addict. My father was a gangster. University, I made two great friends. We hang out every day and every weekend for 2 years. After graduation we all went separate way, and one died from a car accident. We went to his burial ceremony to present our condolences to the family. We found out all his life was a lie, everything. He would tell us about his sister, nope, single child. His dad job, nope, totally different. His mum would be from another country, nope, totally local. It's crazy, even little details like where he lived, nothing was true. He just pretended to be someone else, but what for? To impress us? Didn't need to be accepted. We were friends since day one. I just don't get it. We could not believe it, and his family must have wondered what was wrong with us to know so little about their sons. In a movie that's just weird, but when that happens to you in real life, you keep having questions for years about what was that all about? My father doesn't actually hate me. She was raped and had the kid. The dad killed himself. Poor kid will never know the truth. What makes them a poor kid? The fact that they won't be told that their mother was raped, or the fact they will never meet their rapist father? Or is the family literally poor? Found out one of my high school best friends and her sister were brutally abused physically and sexually by their stepdad for years. She cut everyone off and refused to acknowledge anyone she knew before college. Changed her name and everything. Married, had a kid, divorced. Then through the grapevine I find out she did the same to her kid. Made CP. She's going to be in prison for a long time. Another friend recently told me her HSBF used to choke her and threaten her life with knives. She hadn't ever told anyone about it. He was also sent to prison recently for stabbing his father to death. Kindness and good deeds are rarely praised, that people do nice things for people and don't seek credit. One of my best college buds is now homeless and living in a shelter.